Unknown puppet. Face or just a puppet? Monster. This creature does not have a specific name, but we already know that this is a new monster in the 5th chapter of the Banban Kindergarten. Let's look into this. Fifth chapter. It has not yet been released, but nevertheless, we are looking forward to its release, and we already know that something interesting has been prepared for us there. But the new character was not shown to us completely. We do not even know who it is, but still we see it, and it may turn out that this is the reason for everything that happens in our children's hell. And this plasticine scary face is just the same to blame for all this. It is strange that they decided to bring this character into a separate chapter. Plus, it's a backstory. And in fact, we can say the 5th chapter is 0. But 6 is the 5th. Even the trailer came out for her, but by 5, which is the most surprising no. What if I tell you that we have already seen this creature? Since we have a backstory in front of us, then we should have seen the consequences of this backstory in the sequels. Of course, kids were stolen from us, we came to kindergarten for them, we met monsters. But we could already meet this monster? Quite a confusing story, and I would like to understand it. Well, before moving on to the unknown green grin, let's take a look at the no less terrible and huge face of Zolphius. Why did I choose Zolphius? Where does this huge worm with an equally huge head? In general, it feels like Zolphius is an extra character here. It is not clear why this huge worm appears. What is he here for anyway? He constantly appears out of place. Why is it needed? Firstly, it is surprising that he spoke to us at all, and secondly, it is even more surprising that he apologized to us in Spanish. For what? What did he do to us? Because he didn't say hello to us the first time? Yes, it is unlikely that he did not speak to us after that, but for some reason he always followed us. After all, he has such an opportunity because he is big and can move in this abyss as he pleases. Go down to the floor below or go up, on the contrary, stretch out. We are constantly shown this monster. He apologizes to us, by the way, in the 3rd chapter when we find a secret room. We return to the elevator and there is Zolphius with his sorry. And more than once I have such an idea that Zolphius is generally one of the first monsters. But judge for yourself, this is clearly a failed experiment. Most likely, all these unsuccessful experiments were among the first. Well, the first monster lumpy, as they say. At first, our scientists could not make normal monsters. By the way, they did not succeed after. Well, before that, they didn't even like it themselves. And so they began to learn from their mistakes and make a more or less successful experiment. These were not just experiments, but experiments with Givanium. In a note from the 3rd chapter, all about the same Givanium, a case was discovered when one experiment was overloaded with different genomes. Then the body goes into an irreversible state in which all genomes except one begin circulate throughout the body, all the rest are utilized. That is, only one genome remains, the rest disappear, and therefore if we create some kind of mixture in one monster, then there should not be more than 3 genomes. And something tells me that this unsuccessful experiment is sulfurs with different genomes. And who said that if there is only one genome left, it does not cease to be freak? No, Zolphius is certainly handsome, but he was clearly not prepared to go to kindergarten with children during the Bring a Friend event. He is too healthy, he is too scary, and even too faceless. But judging by the pictures, they wanted to do something like that, but it turned out a little different. But be that as it may, there is still some interesting entry note. This is a nightmare. I must have thought I was ready to witness what is happening down here, but I was sorely mistaken that training would be enough. This letter begins with such lines and ends with a description of the scream coming from above. Some kind of creature was clearly approaching the author of this note, and it was almost nothing of a massive floating face. And the tutorial didn't say anything about it. Isn't this author writing about Zolphius? So it turns out that we have 2 massive faces, but all we know about Zolphius is that he can't scream. At least for now. And all this certainly gives very interesting thoughts. If we take a closer look at the very face of this unknown puppet, we will see a slight similarity of Zolphius in that plasticine face. In fact, the holes on the faces, the shape of the mouth is screaming, and this terrible creature was before the events taking place now. And maybe it will turn out this way. This monster from the 5th chapter of the prehistory will just be the same monster in which too many genomes were pumped in, which contributed to such a small evolution. I certainly do not claim that Zolphius is a nameless puppet. It's the same character. But nevertheless, when we read about a massive face, we can think about both. However, Zolphius' apology bothers me. So it may be true. In the past, he was the same puppet that stole the children of the protagonist, and now, as we see, he is not able to help us at all. And all he can do is apologize. Well, probably for that. Additions for the sake of it, it is worth saying that we do not know what the puppet looks like completely. We saw only a part of her torus. But what is the question behind this wall? Possibly a long worm tail. I would not have hoped so much for his small hand. Due to its small size and possibly weakness, it could well have fallen off. And this creature could have retained the genome of the worm, and yet the consequences of pumping other genomes into the face. It could very well be. At first they could plan a small monster with a big head, and then they decided to make a fun huge worm. But since our experiment could be the first, we did not know that if it was pumped with other different genomes and this experiment was carried out further, then all the other genomes would burst except for one. And so it turns out that from a small little freak, we grow a huge one. It is rather difficult to imagine how a healthy pale worm with a huge face could grow out of this small green alien. And even more so if this is the same and the alien stole the children, why, when he grew up, he suddenly became kinder. It is very strange, and I think that we will someday figure it out, if of course this is true, our unknown puppet is really Zolphius. In general, I may be wrong. What do you think unknown puppet is a massive face? Is that Zolphius? Who was mentioned in that terrible note? Write your opinion in the comment. Well, do not forget to subscribe to my channel, click on the bell so as not to miss new videos. Like this video, share with your friends and on your page, and do not forget to leave any comment under this video. This will help the promotion of this video by YouTube algorithms. Thank you dear friend, and see you soon.